Hey guys, Kaiser Phoenix. This is part 6 of my blind walkthrough through the Pokemon White game. And this is where it starts to get a little long. There's definitely a lot of ground to cover between the 5th gym and the 6th gym, so we may as well get started. Alright, so I beat the 5th gym leader. I'm walking around Route 6, and there's a lot of Deerling, which are kind of a strong Pokemon. It kind of reminds me of Stantler now that I think about it. It's a decent thing to fight, and you know, since it's got, I think it had a jump kick or something like that was kind of beating me. I passed by the Deerling Institute. They were like, hey, you're going to give us a Deerling? I'm like, no, see you later. Didn't have time, I guess. Saw things like Carablast, which didn't seem all that important. And finally I meet up with the 5th gym leader outside Chargestone Cave. And he mentions that Galvantula live inside there, some sort of electric spider thing. And I'm like, that sounds cool. I want to see one of those. And of course, one of the first things I see going in there is Jolting. I'm like, that's pretty sweet. I want that. That is going to be my electric Pokemon. Oh yeah, I was all about Jolting. In fact, I started trading it almost immediately. There was an interesting mix of, well, first of all, I kind of like Chargestone Cave, but the fact that it just looks cool. It's just an interesting. It's not really something we've seen before. We've seen caves and electric places, but never to just jam together in a way that was visually appealing. So I thought that was neat. Chargestone Cave also had an interesting mix of Pokemon. The Joltik that I mentioned before, Clink, which was a Steel-type Pokemon, which I had seen in some of the art before the games came out. Ferroseed, which now that I think about it, is sort of a term for Iron Seed. So that's clever. Very clever Pokemon games. That was kind of a difficult Pokemon to fight because it didn't seem to have too many weaknesses. And I should really look it up now and see what its weaknesses are. Obviously fire, which I don't think I had my fire Pokemon on me at the time I was traveling through there, but yeah, it was a little difficult getting through Chargestone. This was definitely the part of the game that felt like a really big adventure and a tough endurance race just to get to the next gym. The encounter rate really felt high in that cave, and I think the encounter rate is higher in general in this game than, say, Diamond and Pearl, but man, it felt high. Especially when you had to fight things like Ferroseed or Clink. I mean, Steel Pokemon are kind of difficult if you don't have something that can specifically take care of them, and I must not have had that at the time. Eventually you fight N at the end of the cave, and I'm sure he's got some ridiculous thing he said, but it wasn't really that hard. I mean, he's got the Pokemon that are, it's an interesting dynamic and interesting mechanic, that N has the Pokemon that are sort of in the area where you fight him, but I mean, once you get to the end of that cave, you fought a bajillion Joltiks, a bajillion Ferroseeds, and you know how to defeat them finally, so I did. It wasn't that big a deal. One thing I didn't find in the cave though was a Tynamo. I kind of wanted that thing after I saw its evolution, but I never saw it. I would have caught it if I had seen it. I just never saw the damn thing, so. Of course, you get to the 6th town, which is Mistralton City. Airport theme going on, but gym leader's not there, so you go off to find her, and ends up she's at this Celestial Tower, which really reminds me of Lavender Town's Ghost Tower. I mean, any sort of ghost-like tower in the game sort of reminds me of that. I know there was one in Ruby Sapphire. There's a bunch of interesting Pokemon in there, including the Fire Candle Pokemon. Fire Ghost. I'd have to look up the name. I think Flitwick, maybe? I don't think it's Flitwick. Litwick. Something like that. I thought that was interesting. I never really got a chance to train him. There was just sort of other Pokemon I had that were, I guess, had designated spots. And, I mean, anytime I get to this part of the Pokemon games, it's sort of like I've got Pokemon that I've used, and I've got some I've grown attached to, and I guess they've earned their spot. It's hard for new Pokemon to sort of get in there sometimes. And sometimes it happens, but I mean, there were some interesting Pokemon in the tower that I never really used. The tower was cool, though. It had sort of this circular thing that was going on. I mean, it's another example of the graphical upgrade that this game had got compared to games of the other series. So I finally get up to the top of the tower. Gym leader, you know, come to think of it, I think she like saved a Pokemon or something, but I don't remember what was up there, to be real honest. Maybe I was like playing the game late at night and just blew through it and was tired or something. I honestly don't remember. Finally get her to go back to the gym. Now, at this point, I actually have a Galvantula. I've been training a few of my guys, so I have a Galvantula, which is the bug electric type, and I figure electric's gonna kick their ass, which I was right, it did well. But there was also a Zebstrika, wild Zebstrika in the route after the gym on the way to Celestial Tower. I picked up one of those, but I never really used it. I mean, I had my Boldor, which at that point was pretty well trained. I had Galvantula, which might be one of my favorite new Pokemon. I just think it's really cool. I don't know how useful it is late game, but it was pretty sweet. I'm not gonna lie, I like that damn thing. And of course, getting to the gym, it was interesting, the cannons and everything. I thought that was an interesting little mechanic in there, but gym leader wasn't that hard. I mean, it's flying. I think, I'm trying to remember if there were any Pokemon I didn't know at that point. I think there was a Tranquil, some other flying Pokemon, and then I think she sent a Swanna out at me, and I hadn't heard of a Swanna, I hadn't seen it, but I was pretty sure I knew what the hell it was. And besides, I mean, it's a flying gym. I figured there wasn't going to be anything too surprising. So I left Galvantula out. Swanna comes out and I'm like, oh, that's the duck. I know it's water flying, and I just killed the thing. I mean, it's got 4 times weakness, and the bug's faster than it. So that's pretty much it. I got that badge pretty easily. So there was a lot of ground to cover, but once I finally got to, actually, you know what? I think once I finally got to the gym, between the lucky egg that they gave me at some point and just traveling all that ground, I may have even been a little bit higher level than some of her Pokemon, so I kind of kicked her ass. I think I got Aerialized afterwards, so that was cool. But among the new Pokemon I saw, obviously Deerling, which I like Stantler, so I might try out Deerling at some point. I saw Carablast, which just sort of, I was like, it's a bug Pokemon, I'm never going to use this again. I saw Fungus, which I joked, whenever I saw Fungus, I say like, oh, Fungus Among Us, and now I know what its evolution is, but I will get to that later. Obviously Joltik and Galvantula, which I said before is one of my favorite new Pokemon. I like the combination of bug and electric. I don't know what it is. It just seems useful to me. Electric is a useful thing to have, and bug has certainly gotten better over time. It definitely helped out against psychic Pokemon I would fight later on. Caught a Pharaoh Seed. I didn't really use it. Not sure why. Caught a Clink. Didn't really use it much at the time, but I'm trying to think when I started using it. I'll talk more about that later. I have a Dynamo now, but at the time I didn't even see the damn thing. I have a friend who caught one. A Elgium, which I thought looked really cool. Didn't really have a chance to use it. Honestly, there are a lot of psychic Pokemon in this game. For some reason, I just did not use many of them over the long haul. I don't know why. I mean, they seem pretty good. Just, I don't know. And Litwick, obviously. I thought Litwick was cool. I used him a little bit and dropped him for some reason. I think, you know, I honestly don't know why I wouldn't have used him for the Ice Gem, but I guess my thought process at the time was just a bunch of other stuff. And why wouldn't I use him for the Ice Gem? That doesn't make any damn sense. God, I must have been ridiculously tired when I played this game. So that was part 6 of the Pokemon game. If you have any opinions on these new Pokemon or your experiences in the game, though I'm sure pretty much all of you have beaten the game by now, and in truth I have as well, but if you have any comments, go ahead and post them in the comment box. I will see you guys next time.